I want to go through this video to demonstrate, illustrate the BA2 Plus uh, calculator. This is the calculator, of course, that I highly recommend for this course. As I made mention in my course outline, course settings, is that I know this calculator. I know its idiosyncrasies. You may use another financial calculator as long as you know how to use that calculator. As I said, I do know the idiosyncrasies of this calculator. So let me just go through and demonstrate really how to set it up. I'm going to go through and demonstrate how to utilize it. First of all, I want to come in here, and you can see currently it is set for 2 decimal places. I highly recommend that you go in here and let's change the number of decimal places from 2 to the maximum. So second, format, and click on 9 and enter. And so once again it is now set to 9 decimal places. To kind of get back to the cell, I kind of look at this kind of like an Excel spreadsheet from the standpoint of looking here an Excel spreadsheet, the cell. And so let's just kind of get back and clear it out, and you can see we're back into a cell. One of the other things, let's just assume that we want to go forth and we want to calculate a compounded growth rate. And so one of the things you can see here is that really what we're going to be focusing in on is the third row here, and number of periods, interest per year, present value, payment if we're dealing with an annuity, or future value. Now one of the things here I'm going to go through and just focus in on a single sum. As you go through your readings for chapter 9, you're going to have to know how to make reference to a single sum or an annuity payment for this particular chapter. So let's assume that we're going to do this. Let's assume that I'm going to invest $1,000 today, and let's assume that I'm going to be able to earn 10%, and I'm going to do that for 20 years. So how would I set that up? The first thing, this is annual compounding. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say second, interest per year, and payments per year, it's set 1. So that simply means yearly compounding. If I wanted to change it to semi, quarterly, or whatever, let's assume I want to change it to quarterly compounding. I would 4 and enter it, and then second, quit. But of course, in this particular illustration, I want to use annual compounding, so I have to go back and change it. 1, enter, second, quit, to kind of get back to that cell. So in this particular case, I'm going to invest $1,000 one time. That's a present value. Anything that goes into present value, make sure you change the sign, kind of like an outflow. So 1,000 plus or minus will change my sign to PV. And here 10%, so 10. You do not have to put that in decimal format, just leave it in 10. And interest per year, and for 20 years. So total number of payments would be 20. And then to find out the answer, simply compute future value, $6,727. So that is a single sum. To clear it out, since we were dealing with the third row, this is basically our time value of money column. We would go second clear TVM, second clear TVM. When we use a second key, we're looking for above, in this case above the present future value. So second clear, second quit. Now you might say have a new Excel spreadsheet. we can do something else. Let's assume that I want to determine the compounded growth rate. Compounded growth rate, say between I don't know. Uh, Say I bought a share of stock for $15, and I did that, say, 5 years ago. And let's assume that currently it is selling for $27. I want to determine the compounded growth rate between 15 and 27, meaning the initial investment was made 5 years ago. So in this case, still dealing with yearly compounding. Always get in the habit of checking out what the compounding period is. So yes, it's still yearly compounding. So second, clear it out, second quit. So in this case, I'm going to put in 15. That's present value. That's what I bought a share of stock 5 years ago. Make sure you change the sign. Present value. The future value would be really like today, 27. 5 years ago, 5N, and in this case I'm going to compute my interest, which tells me that over the past 5 years the compounded rate of return on this investment was 12.47%. Let's look at one other feature, and this would be, let's say I have a mortgage, and you do have an assignment coming up dealing with a mortgage or dealing with a P&I payment. Let's assume that, I don't know, $125,000. You go out and buy a home, or we'll say for $125,000 at 4.25% for 30 years. I want to determine what the P&I payment is. Well, once again, we're dealing with a mortgage, 4.25% for 30 years. Since we're dealing with a P&I, we're going to be thinking in terms of a monthly payment. So from that standpoint, my compounding period is no longer yearly, it is monthly. So second, payment per year, not 1, but it's 12. So 12, enter. Second, clear. And this is a 30-year mortgage. So over the life of my mortgage, 30 years, I'm going to be making 360 payments, 360N. I'm going to go out and I'm going to borrow $125,000. Once again, change that sign. I'm borrowing today. That is current. That is a present value amount. Now, 4.25%, that is the rate on the mortgage. So 4.25 is my interest per year. I don't have to divide that by 12. The TI analyst knows that you change the compounding period from 1 to 12. It knows it's monthly compounding. So to compute the P&I, simply compute payment. So your monthly payment is $614 and we'll say 89 cents. That's what we refer to as P&I, principal and interest. Let's assume that I would like to know that over the 30 years, or after I make 360 payments, what's my interest? What's the total amount of interest? So in this case, it's my amortization. Thinking in terms like you had in accounting, I know you dealt with coming up with an amortization schedule. So here we're going to go second, and right above PV is amortization. And so in this case, it's saying, okay, my first payment, P1 is 1, so I will enter that. And then I'm going to scroll down, P2, and that would be after I completely pay off the mortgage, so that is 360. So Enter that, scroll down. It's telling me my balance is like $26.99. My principal's $124,973, and my total interest is $96,386. Now, it just due to some rounding errors, that's why it was a little bit off. But once again, from the standpoint, that's how we would calculate the total amount of interest that I would pay over the life of the mortgage. Of course, I'm paying back my 125,000. At the same time, I'd be paying an additional 96,386,000 in interest. So again, this is just a quick overview on the utilization of the PE PA2 Plus. Second quick, think of this cell here as kind of like an Excel cell. Change the format, number of decimal places to 9. Remember, anything that goes into PV must change the sign to a negative. So really, again, this is time value of money and interest per year, PV, payment, future value. So once again, as long as I know 3 out of the 4 values, I can always come up with the unknown one. So once again, hopefully this helps in setting up this calculator to use it, especially for chapter 9.